those caught. Has to try to split them up. No tanks on the way for Canata. That's the only thing that's really delaying. SAviOr will get tanks now on the way. Possibly waiting for siege upgrade. Now Mutalisk on the way as well. SAviOr forcing those Marines to get waste some stims. Gonna have to try to take out these tanks with those Mutalisks, or possibly get them caught by lurkers. Science Vessel is on the way, and siege mode is on the way. Now the Mutalisk is gonna go in, but gonna get caught by some Marines. We're gonna see whether SAviOr actually tries to go through this or not. Apparently not trying this now. Has a second colony defending at the upper right. Has those Mutalisks running around. Just gonna see whether he tries to delay it all. Is gonna go try to take some pot shots. Should not be able to take out these tanks. Trying to mark her around, but really in a horrible position. Take another shot, another tank, but not really nearly as much damage as it should have. That Mutalisk grouping not big enough to really do any sort, not to be a factor. Lurkers are moving up with the sea. SAviOr burrows them down. One of them gets caught, one of them gets killed. Mutalisk also flying in though, so SAviOr should be able to kill most of this troop here with those Mutalisks and the lurkers there to support. So SAviOr at this point playing a very, very heavily defensive game with nothing else but lurkers. Actually going to try to move out a little bit, moving some of his lurkers forward, trying to push Canata back a little bit. Has his Mutalisk in the air to support as well. But now we have those siege tanks in position. Scans are going to be able to go off in siege mode on the way. Oh my god, Mutalisk actually going for SAviOr. One scan going off against one of the forward lurkers. One tank goes off, but still one tank in play though. Hive on the way for SAviOr. She's going to try to get defilers as soon as he can. Some Marines running right into lurkers. Huge lurker line for SAviOr there. And cannot really need some heavy scanning. Some scans going off there. SAviOr not really splitting his lurker. Has some lurkers coming into the north, trying to do for a pincer. We're going to see whether he tries to pincer Canata inside. Science is on the way now though. So those Mutalisks are in danger, and those lurkers are also in danger. Some lurkers forced to move backward. Some burrowing and unburrowing going on. Some Marines moving in. The lurkers in a very large amount though, so the Marines just can't just run to their death. The tanks are firing upon the lurkers though, so I think Canata should be able to take this. So SAviOr will not be able to hold on for too much longer. He has even more lurkers moving in from the back, trying to kill all the Marines. So SAviOr is going to try to go for a pincer. This is all going to come down to who wins here. SAviOr is actually going. This is going to try to pincer on both sides. He has lurkers on both sides moving in. Not quite sure if I think he's losing far too many scans. Does have some lurkers moving in close. They're deciding not to sacrifice them to even more lurkers on the way. Defensive magic's going off one of the tanks. A lot of Marines and medics actually dying, and SAviOr trying to move in very close with his lurkers. All the tanks, the only thing really Canata has at this point has one single Marine and all the medics alive, and SAviOr actually moving in with Mutalisk now, doing a pretty decent attack. The tanks are going to be able to clear it out. Even more lurkers now on the way. Canata actually fails in his attack. Far too many lurkers on the ground for SAviOr, going very lurker heavy and moving his Mutalisks in as soon as he saw that the Marine number was very small. Greater Spire coming up for SAviOr. Oh my god, I need a sip of water. Greater Spire alongside a Defiler Den. So SAviOr's actually going to go for Guardians alongside his lurkers. Going to go for something very funky. Now actually going to move out. Canata though has a huge force of Marines, some Vultures alongside as well. They're all going to get killed here. More acting as spotters than anything else. Doesn't have speed or probably not crackling upgrades for his Zerglings either. Now going to get some Guardians. He has to be really careful to defend those because there are 2 Science Vessels, 3 Science Vessels around in the air. He has to be really careful to defend those. SAviOr again going to be forced to move some of his lurkers back and caught off guard here. Doesn't have his forces in his natural expansion. Nothing but a few lurkers and Zerglings trying to push out, doing a pretty decent job. He might actually be able to catch in another pinch of lurkers and Zerglings. We're now burrowing down. There are Science Vessels. There are a lot of Marines get taken down. The tanks in a lot of danger as well. Canata getting so many of his forces caught in a partial pincer there. He couldn't move in any direction but one, and now Guardian's going to start attacking some supply depots. So SAviOr's going to go for supply depots with Guardians. So that's his plan, trying to make sure that Canata cannot reinforce his forces. Second starport actually coming in for Canata, and he is repairing his supply depots with the SCVs. One mine gonna go off. Oh, the mine gets killed along with the Vulture just as it was about to go into the huge lurker line and possibly win the game for Canata. But the Guardians also attacking the turrets. So SAviOr's now actually putting on the pressure. Even more lurkers moving in, burning down a little bit slow, but has the followers alongside as well. So SAviOr's now gonna push in. Ooh, nice. One Dark Swarm goes off before the Irradiate, well, after the Irradiate, so there's going to be some lurkers defending there. SAviOr actually getting a base at the upper left, has his Guardians doing a lot of damage inside of Canata's base, taking out all the supply depots. Sunken colonies being put down the upper right, while Canata trying to push and do a lot of damage. There aren't really many forces to defend there, so SAviOr is going to lose his upper right-hand base. He has a few lurkers instantly going to get killed. Really should be able to move his drones away. Has some forces moving into defend just now, but far too late, I believe. We're going to see whether SAviOr actually decides to go for something more aggressive, has a lot of lurkers moving in from the front. Dark swarms over the place. Some mines catching several lurkers, but the bunker shouldn't be able to do really too much. No tank. sAviOr does lose his upper right, but does now finally have some lurkers and cracklings in position. I believe they are crackers at this point. Some defilers everywhere for sAviOr. He's just pushing in at all sides. Going to lose his guardians though, but he's done a beautiful job of taking out quite a large number of supply depots. Did have to sacrifice one of his bases to a counterattack, but I believe sAviOr will take it. So Canata is not going to be able to resupply his troops. The troop he has on the ground attacking the natural expansion of sAviOr is really the only thing he has. sAviOr pulling some drones off the line towards the upper left-hand base where he just has now built. Lost his lurkers there at the natural of Canata's. Who actually has 2 more lurkers to defend. Also, zerg is moving in just now. Going to be able to take out the comset stations. Canata, one of the weaknesses of Canata's here is still being on 2 bases. Probably trying to reestablish the lower left-hand one and attacking sAviOr's natural expansion. Just consuming the drones just to get even more. Wow. So many defilers, 4 defilers irradiating themselves to get something, but not managing to get anything off due to the irradiates and to the marines coming in. Lurkers though attacking from Canata's natural himself, so both players very in a lot of danger. sAviOr just has a lot of inactive drones trying to focus on many sides because he's trying to attack, forcing Canata to float up, but he has a lot of force inside of his own main. Who has to be careful not to lose that. Not really sure where his defensive forces are, not really mining much. He's only mining the upper left. He's lost his 1 o'clock, has probably lost his natural expansion. Has some zergings though, should have helped him clean this up alongside those drones. One irradiate goes off on the lurker just before he barrels, but Canata's attack is finally going to stop. There's a sunken colony in position there to stop too. To help defend, Canata moving. Rally point death. Rally point of death. Moving several marines right into certain death. sAviOr's not going to be able to push that though due to tanks in position. He's probably going to have to wait for some support. Doesn't have a large enough force. But at this point, just game going all over the place. sAviOr losing a base and establishing a base. Now going to try to attack this new base of Canata's at the lower left, which is not really mining at all. Canata hasn't been able to do anything. Forced to float that CC up due to the zerglings on the ground. sAviOr at this point just focusing on the zerglings so he can do delaying strategies. Now the Wraith has spotted the upper left-hand position. 1 science I believe going off there, but Canata has such a huge number of science has this 1 Wraith petering at some force at the upper left. No Nidus canals for sAviOr critically, so he's going to be forced to run around all of his forces upon the ground just to try to do something. Vulture being engaged with a couple of zerglings being taken out, even more Scourge not being produced. We're going to see whether sAviOr actually has production for this or not. He is not reestablishing another base. Some Scourge to defend against these science vessels. Zerglings instantly get taken out by fire bats, and Canata should actually be able to take this upper left hand. sAviOr does not have anything to defend, being forced to put his drones in a horrible position. Now defilers being raided all over the place. 1 play going off against the defilers. Scourge hitting, killing one of them. Now sAviOr going to lose this upper left hand, so he's now going to be in a horrible economic position, not really be able to do much. I thought he might have actually been able to push in, do some damage, but he pushed not as successful as he should have been able to do. Plaguing his own hatchery just to plague the forces on the ground. Has some Scourge that are useless. Canata really shouldn't be able to reinforce as quickly as he needs to, but he's just focusing a lot more on cheaper troops, just focusing on fire bats and marines right now. Doesn't even have that many medics to support, but sAviOr doesn't really have any forces. Finally moving in with a lurker and some zerglings tried to kill the force at his upper left hand. Doesn't really have many bases. Still mining at his main, I believe. Still mining at his natural, but just mining on 2 bases so far, so he doesn't really have much in the way of economy. Losing several zerglings there to a random mine. Canata has reestablished a pretty decent force, though, and sAviOr now finally going to go in to clean out the force at the upper left hand. Has lurkers to help him support, so that's that. Losing a few more zerglings than I honestly feel he should have. And Canata, wow, what was that? 6 or 7 science vessels all in one huge grouping. Irradiating everything, lurkers and defilers. Some Scourge killing several science vessels though, so sAviOr trying to hold back as long as he can. Canata now going to move in again. I'm not quite sure if sAviOr has the forces for this. Several lurkers there should have been able to pay with their lives for being caught in the open, but are indeed going to pay due to irradiates coming in, and some overlords also going to be able to take out. Canata just far too large a force, and with a huge number of science vessels, he's going to be able to irradiate anything and everything on the ground. So he could even do an eraser against all of sAviOr's drone, and sAviOr will be so much trouble. sAviOr not really even using any resources to try to establish other bases. I think at this point he's just in a horrible economic position. Just losing those bases was far too much. Now just doesn't have enough forces. Hasn't taken out as many science vessels as he should have. Has allowed Canata to have this huge number of science. So GG coming in from sAviOr. So sAviOr is going to move into the losers match. And Canata, interestingly enough, despite he did have an advantage rather early on and always in the game, but despite some parts in the game where he went, is he going to win? Is he going to win? thought sAviOr might have had a chance during certain parts of that matchup, but in the end it showed that it was actually Canata who was going to be the victor, and he's going to face off against either Flash or Gogo in the winners match in what I'm sure will be an insanely long and insanely boring TBT, unless Flash or Gogo decides to give the audience a favor and cheese the guy. So yeah, both players putting up a pretty good matchup. sAviOr with very beautiful very beautiful defending. Really, I gotta say, I should have been able to push that in for a bigger advantage than he did, honestly. And he almost did. He took out a lot of supply depots. Went for a greatest part that didn't really utilize except for a few Guardians. So I thought that might have been a bit of a mistake, despite the damage that he did. And he should have been able to defend his own bases. Just lost his upper right, lost his upper left after that. Got his natural harassed, got his main harassed. Didn't do too much harassment. Didn't harass the natural of Canata's, but just didn't manage to push in at all. So, what can you say? Canata moving on to the winners match, and I'm going to bring you game 2 very soon, guys. GG, ranching out. Thanks for listening.